Hi, friends. Thanks for tuning in to the Mental Fitness Unscripted podcast, where our conversation will encourage your healthy living journey. Inspired by our Team Quadzilla coaching motto, Healthy Living Starts Between Your Ears, we talk about mental fitness in ways that challenge us to think about our thinking regarding topics like habits, leadership, exercise, values, marriage, parenting, and faith. Our hope with this podcast is to sharpen you as we sharpen ourselves to be all we were made to be. So let's dive right into the conversation on this episode of Mental Fitness Unscripted.
Good morning, Chad.
All right. Good morning.
Here we are, finally.
Yeah.
Been a couple of
Yep.
weeks. So,
Yeah. Well, that's what happens in the summer.
do you think they do this in warm states? You know, we cram everything into summer. That was just a flying thought.
Yeah. Well, I actually, my most of my team is in Texas, and they all hibernate in the summer because it's too hot.
Right.
And so I'm like, oh, I see. So you understand what my winter is like, because that's what most people do is they hide in the winter. It's like, yeah, we don't go outside. We just hunker down and like, well, all right.
Choose your season, huh?
Yeah, I guess.
Choose your season. I guess that's why the people here go down to Arizona in the winter and come back in the summer. So
Yeah,
we call them sunbirds. Maybe that's what you call them, but
yeah, yeah. Florida though, not so much Arizona, but
yeah.
yeah.
Yep, it's southern Utah and Arizona for us. So,
Okay.
well, cool. You're going to have to bring me up to speed on where we got to. I honestly can't remember, but we were talking slavery, and
Yeah,
I,
so it's
I
it's
have
been
a
a
hunch.
it's been a while, but
Yep,
we we were talking about Juneteenth,
that's
and how isn't it great that we have emancipation, I guess, and that slavery in the sense of the word of our history is no longer a legal and binding thing, and yet our discussion turned to slavery of a different form and how easy it is for us to become slaves to something else. And really, we got about as far as the definition of anything that is consuming us or anything that is constantly in our mind or in our attention or in our pursuit that we can't let go of and we can't get rid of. Um, you're slave to that. And so, in a sense, we all have something like that. It could be a vice or a bad habit or just bad thinking or anything like that, and we are all very likely a slave to that. And so the question becomes then, well, how do we become emancipated from such slavery, and what does that look like, and what's healthy?
I had an experience yesterday. I was cleaning off a bookshelf right over here. And forgive me a second. I'm going to go out a picture here. You're going to have to edit this. Sorry.
Where did he go?
Where did he go? What's funny is I could have put my hand on it just immediately, but now that I've moved it,
That's what you get for cleaning.
yeah, I knew exactly where it was in my mess. Isn't that awful? We'll have to talk about that sometime. Found it. Ta-da! Okay, this was written a very long time ago. Well, very long time ago. I still remember that. It was written in 1995, and the edition I have is from 2000. So I've had this a while. It was written,
It's okay to leave the plantation. Okay.
isn't that interesting? And
Yeah. Yeah.
so I ran across that. This is a book my father gave me. Gosh, it's been a long time ago. Anyway, so I mean, we've talked about being slave to something. What's got our attention, and really that's the blood sport right now. Is everything's after your attention,
Hmm.
and
Yes.
who can hold it and monetize it. Okay, but let me ask you a question. I don't want to take this away from that if that's what we want to talk about, but I've got a new thought, and maybe we want to go that direction, and maybe we'll do another episode. So. But let me, I'll pose this as a question. The title of the book is It's Okay to Leave the Plantation, meaning that you were put into that environment. It goes back to the old argument, nature or nurture. And I think to some point, we we aren't able to see outside of what we grew up in.
Fair.
Okay. And sometimes I think, whether it's intentional, whether it's unintentional, here's the question. Do you think that sometimes we're programmed to be where we're at so that we'll stay where we're at? For instance, on the plantation.
My mind, um, I think yes, naturally.
Okay.
And my mind immediately goes to um, poverty in the
Hmm.
projects.
Yep.
And now I don't have experience with this because I don't live in an inner city urban area, but what I understand of it is that it can be generational quite easily. And that's really troubling because, children who are raised in poverty and that's all they know can't find a way out. And so they grow up to be also poor and then to raise their own kids who are also poor. And it just kind of perpetuates. And so there's this big movement of, how do you get out of that? How do you remove yourself from that and make a better life? Now, poverty is a big deal and it's hard. And I don't really understand a lot of that. So anyone listening who thinks I'm an idiot now, just please forgive my ignorance. But to answer your question, I think there is a part of our environment that can be quite limiting, and it takes an incredible amount of mental fitness for
Mhm.
one, to choose a different path to get out of that.
I have a friend that does a podcast. He's a professor down at a university in Utah, and he had a student show up into their program. They weren't quite sure how she got there because what they discovered was that her education was very limited. She was homeschooled. She was part of a group, um, and I'm not going to point out where it was. It was in the northwest, upper northwest. Um, but they were in class one day and they were talking about the Holocaust, and she raised her hand and she said, "What's the Holocaust?"
Oh my.
And they discovered that her education had been very, very biased,
Mm,
and she had pretty much been programmed. Now she's moved off. I mean, she had to go back to remedial education to kind of come up to speed, but she was brilliant enough that she started over, and within a year she was up to college level um, understanding and so forth. Completed her education. She's now part of Harvard University as faculty. So anyway, uh, to your point, that took a lot of mental fitness. It took a lot of courage. you know, she she was taught by people she trusted, and to walk away or to turn her back on that, it would have been hard. Plus, just the fact of coming up to speed on things that she should have known because of her education. So, I ask that question because sometimes I think we are programmed to be a slave.
Yeah, boy,
And I that's a really, that's way out on the spectrum here. I'm not saying that that's bad or good, because when I raised my children, I was certainly biased on what I believed. Okay,
yeah.
I think we all do that to some degree. Okay, but I took it way far out on the spectrum there to show that sometimes I think that we are uh, being programmed. And I think it comes back. Sorry, I'm trying to kind of lighten the load here a little bit, but it comes back to what am I giving my attention to? Am I getting
Mm,
my information from a good source?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I'm not a scientist either, um, but what I do know about how our brains work is that um, all of this is very normal. We were made to crave. We were made
Mhm.
to worship. Um, and worship, that sounds like a very religious term, and I don't think it has to be, because when you think of it in the context of slavery, we are in a sense worshiping the thing that we're seeking, right? We're
I
seeking something from that thing. We want it to give us some kind of satisfaction or pleasure or
fulfillment, right?
power, or fulfillment of some
Right.
kind, and so our attention is there as a form of worship in a sense, and we're not going to escape that. We are worshipers by our nature, by our makeup, from our creator, made in his image. We are made to worship, and so it's not a matter of um, suppressing that or getting rid of it somehow, because that's not going to happen.
Mm-mm.
The issue here is, what are you going to worship? And and that's the mental fitness exercise that we've got to lean into, because regardless of your environment or your circumstances or what your mama told you, we are all ultimately responsible for our own choices, and we all ultimately decide um, what or who we worship and pursue. And that's really, I mean, we kind of talked about this last time, but that's kind of the angle that I'm hoping to spur in my own mind as a worshiper, and to recognize that, man, sometimes the felt needs or desires that I have that might be very strong, boy, be careful, because if they grow too big, then they become objects of worship, and that's usually going to be destructive if it's not properly placed. So uh, I don't mean to to instruct or dictate what the proper thing or things are, but just that we need to be aware that this is a real issue. I don't know if that's helpful or not, but
Well, it is, and I think it just underscores the thought of we've got to go to a good source. Um,
yeah.
in light of what you just said, let me just um, throw a phrase out there that's really popular right now: "Live your passion." How do you feel about
Mm,
that?
yeah. Yeah. It's empowering. We want to be passionate about something. But again, that can also be very destructive. I mean, you could say the same thing to Hitler, and that didn't turn out very well.
Well, he was very passionate.
Yeah, exactly.
He
So,
lived his passion. I mean, he wrote a book, and he
yeah,
yeah, he lined it right out. So,
yeah.
um, I'm gonna keep going back to it. we've said this over and over again on this podcast. Truth is truth. You can't change it. Just because I'm passionate about something does not make it true. The other phrase that's really popular is live your truth. And, man, what a scary place to go.
Yeah.
You know, what's really cool is our creator has allowed us to do that. If that's what you choose to do, go for it. But with that comes the consequences of if I jump off a building, the consequence is I'm going to meet the ground. That truth is truth. It just happens, and my passion doesn't change truth. But going back, I have to look at what I'm giving my attention to, and look at the source. Is it a real source? Is it real? Um, it's like going to the dentist to find out, how to write a legal document. Sometimes we do that. We go to the internet and try and find out something about what the internet doesn't know anything about.
Mm,
So we go to the wrong source.
yeah.
We go to the we go to the dirt pile to get a drink of water, which is really
Mm,
silly. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, so here again, I'm not trying to be preachy. What I'm saying is take a step back. Take that minute of mindfulness and say, okay, is this a good source? Am I being led here?
Mm,
And I, back to slavery. I think we're a slave to something. We get to choose. And I'm in my gym downstairs. I've got a home gym here, but I have a little sign that says, "To what do you surrender today?"
mm,
And
yeah.
the reality is I will surrender to something. I, I will give my attention. I will give my heart, my mind to something. And if
Boy,
if
that's
I'm
true.
going if I'm going to do that, if I'm going to become a slave, who do I want to be a slave to, or what do I want to be a slave to?
Yeah.
And what's really cool is I get to choose.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. What's difficult about this topic is that um, someone could be thinking to themselves, well, I firmly believe these things, and this is what is true, and therefore I'm going to do this or be that, and to heck with anybody else and whatever their opinion is. And I think we see a lot of that in our modern culture. It's like, who are you to tell me what's true? And I think to your point earlier, truth is truth, but we we as in the general population here in the wildly prosperous Western culture, it's confused, it's convoluted, and people are just kind of making stuff up and running with it. And so that this idea may not resonate with everyone. um, they don't really care. They're like, well, I'm happy to be a slave to whatever's the thing, how I choose to live my life, or what I surrender myself to. um, so there's a deeper issue here at play that we don't have time to
Mm,
to, to dive into, but it goes back to the identity that we've talked about so much, because I
exactly.
think that is a root of our mental fitness, is understanding what our true identity is, and where that comes from, and how that shapes the decisions we can make about where we choose to surrender ourselves. So, yeah, I guess the point about the slavery is that pay attention, because you're a slave to something.
Yeah,
Is that thing, feeding you for the better or for the worse? And what can you do about it?
Had to sneeze, sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not allergic to. So, no, it really does come back to that. I'll give you an example. I'm fighting. This is me personally right now. Okay, my upbringing was as money was hard to come by. We never had enough. Never could pay our bills. Um, the boss was always cheating us because they weren't paying us enough. And what's funny
Mm,
is I've spent years trying to overcome that. And what's interesting is it was very emotionally moving to me to watch my mother write checks and she's crying. And here I am, a child. I care about my mother. And so it's very
mm,
emotionally charged for me. And I've had to go back and look at that and say, okay, is that truth? Is that really true that money's hard to come by? And looking back
mm.
on our lives, they always had enough. They always paid their bills. But but the way my mother and my father treated that had influence on me. And so I've been a slave, if you will,
Mm,
to that thought. And I've had to go back and say, okay, I have to unlearn that emotion.
wow.
Okay,
Yeah.
I have to make a different decision. And I've been successful in my life. I'm very blessed. Okay, very, very blessed. But I still run up against that ceiling, if you will, at
Mm,
times that, oh man, I don't have enough, and then I find
mm.
myself going down that emotionally charged rabbit trap. And all it does is it justifies my feeling from the decision I made before when I was a little boy that money was hard.
Wow.
This really hurts my mom, it hurts my dad. These are people that I really love, and so therefore money must be bad. And
Mm.
okay, so
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah.
well, it's not that I was abused or any. It was just something that I had painted that color. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
the truth of the matter is that they always their house is free and clear. They live very well now. Um, they've always had enough. That's the truth. And money when they've needed it has always been there. That's the truth.
Mm.
But see, the lenses that I put on very young was that it was a bad thing. I
Wow.
painted it that color, and so I, I I've spent years on that. I'm still fighting
Mm.
through that, and so just as I'm kind of a slave to that old feeling. Okay, but the truth is, I took the wrong source.
Yeah.
I picked the wrong source of my truth, and so
Yeah.
I'm having to unlearn that and live truth. Truth. Can I call it truth?
Truth, truth. Oh, that's really good. That reminds me of another popular saying that says to follow your heart. And yet, I have done that in certain areas of my life and found it quite disappointing. And so I think, from my worldview, the main source that I draw from is God's scriptures in the Bible, and it very plainly says that your heart is not to be followed. Your heart is in fact deceitful, beyond measure, and without cure, left to its own devices. And so the culture's sentiment to follow your heart is something to battle against. And what I wrestle with often is, am I being driven by my emotions, or am I in charge of my emotions? We're not saying that emotions are bad or even wrong necessarily, but what are we doing with them? And so again, we become very easily slave to these emotions, um, and that can be a big problem. So again, just trying to create some awareness here. I'm not
Yep.
some kind of therapist
We're
or
not.
doctor or anything. I'm not solving anyone's problems here. I'm just pointing out that this is a thing and that we need to be aware that this is happening, and so that we can make
Just take that
hopefully
step.
better choices about it. Yeah.
Just take that step back. Yeah, exactly. No, this is so good. Truth is truth. It's agnostic. It has consequences. You live the right thing, you'll get blessings. If you do the wrong thing, you're going to get burned. Um, it,
Yeah.
that's it. It doesn't care. Um, there's a saying in some of the physical training I do. The mountain doesn't care.
Yeah. Right.
Okay? And I love the mountain because it shows me who I really am.
Mm,
And if I don't come prepared, the mountain will show me that I'm unprepared. If I come prepared, the mountain will show me that I'm
mm,
prepared. Truth is agnostic.
yeah.
It will just show who you are.
Wow. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So if you find yourself running up against the brick wall, um, instead of blaming the brick wall, maybe look in the mirror, right?
More often than not. Yep.
Yeah.
In
I
fact,
just,
I'd go
eh,
100% of the time.
yeah,
Anyway.
it reminded me of a conversation I had the other day with somebody who was saying, um, basically, the idea was if if God is in charge and he's supposed to be a good God, then why is life so hard? And I said to him, the way I understand it is that God made us as his image bearers, and he gave us pretty explicit instructions through the Bible about who he is primarily, and then about how we're supposed to live. And I think through my own experience, I mean, I'm speaking from my own experience, that the reason why I often face the hardships and discouragements and frustrations and stresses in my life is because I'm in rebellion
Hmm.
of those instructions for how I'm actually supposed to live. And he looked at me like he had, this is brand new to him. How could this be?
New thought.
And it's like, well, that's pretty logical, you know. If if we're C.S. Lewis says something like this.
Hmm.
He's like, he whoever built the car built it to be fueled in a very particular way. And if you put anything else in it to fuel it, it won't work.
Yep.
In the same way, if God has made us in his image, he gave us the fuel that we need to operate properly. And if we do anything else apart from that, it's just not going to work. That's just plain logic.
It's totally agnostic.
Yes. And so to think of it again, preaching to myself here, to look in the mirror and be like, why am I so stressed and frustrated and disappointed and discouraged and all the negative things? Well, maybe it's because I'm not following the program for which I was written.
Yeah,
And that's a root of slavery.
absolutely. Absolutely. Have you ever heard the thought God is truth?
I'm, yeah, for sure.
Okay. If truth shows us who we really are, God will allow us to be challenged so that we
Mm,
can show who we really are if we live the truth, i.e.
mm,
God, i.e. God.
mm, mm. Yeah, I mean, and that's another way to say that God is very good,
Hmm.
is because he's bringing to our attention areas that were straying off the path, and he wants to protect us from getting into more trouble. And so he puts these things in our way to help us think, hey, wait a second, what's really happening here?
He is the greatest coach.
Mm, yeah,
He's put everything in place for us. We just have
yeah,
we have to go look, and he knows that if we don't look, if he does it for God will never live our lives for us, which is
right.
people say, well, why is he, if he's good, how come he lets all this evil stuff happen? That's because he's a great
It's
co-host.
yeah, it's the rebellion.
Yeah, I just knocked my drink off my desk.
Oh, nice.
So, all right. Well, we just got the 10-minute warning.
Okay.
Ha-
Yeah. So
Have we worn this out yet?
I don't know. I think there's just a lot to unpack there, and I don't want to beat the dead horse or
Yeah,
anything,
no,
but uh, um, look in the mirror. I mean, that's me preaching to myself, and evaluate
okay.
what is the source of where I'm looking
Surrendering.
for this surrendering, and what is the truth, and make better decisions.
Yeah.
Again, I pretty guilty over here, so
Well, back to emancipation. We can emancipate ourselves from the wrong kind of slavery to the right kind. We can attach.
yeah.
I'll use something that is top of mind right now. 250 years of a free nation. Okay, we were bound to England as its subjects, and we made a decision to go somewhere else and bind ourselves some other way.
Mm,
We freed
yes.
we freed ourselves from England, and then it took 11 years for us to establish the Constitution that we live by now. Hopefully, I'll say that tongue in cheek,
Yeah, really.
but but that's what happened is we were tied to England. We made a decision, and then it was hard. It took a war. It took a lot of arguing amongst ourselves. It took a lot of compromise amongst ourselves. But look at what we have. The Constitution has lasted, a long time, over 200 years. Um,
Yeah.
has it been at peril? Yes. Is it at peril? Yeah. Now, yes. Um, you know, but man, look at what that decision made.
Mm,
Look at the results of living the truth, not being subjects to a king, but rather governing ourselves.
mm,
Look at all the countries around the world that have benefited because this country was free.
yeah. Right. Boy, that's good.
Okay, and we can do the same thing, and I guess rather than call it slavery, what am I going to surrender to, or what am I going to attach myself to?
Right.
Make that decision, and then it's mucky and messy, but make it happen. Write your own constitution and say, "This is me." Back to the
Mm,
identity thing that you said. This is me. I'm an American, or that's what the Constitution gave us was we're self-governed now. I'm an American. I
mm.
think there's a lot of wisdom in that phrase too. We need to be self-governing, led by God.
Yeah, we have that's the agency that we are given. We're not robots. We get to choose. And so much of what we talk about in mental fitness is about choosing and being aware of the choices that we're making, because they're either drawing us closer to the thing that we want to become or we want to do, or it's away from it.
All the way.
And it all compounds, right? So our choices matter, and um, we're going to surrender to something. We're going to worship something because that's part of how we're made, and we can't escape that. So we get to choose what those things are, and that's pretty much it.
And if you don't make the choice for yourself, somebody will choose for you. They're very happy to do that.
Oh, yeah,
Very happy to do that. And so
yeah, that's a great point.
if we just go in neutral and abdicate our choice, somebody will be very happy. In fact, they'll be excited that, no, good,
Yes.
here's another one that I
Yep.
can influence and have them follow what I want. So be really careful, be really on purpose. And to Chad's point, what am I going to worship? Make that
Hmm.
decision.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Okay.
Good stuff, man.
It's always good stuff. We could do 5 or 6 more of these on this. All right.
Yeah. I'm convicted. Yeah. Look in the mirror.
Me
Choose
too.
well.
Okay. Now,
Yeah.
here's the challenge. Go make a decision of who you really are and what you want to do. Make the choice.
Yes. Amen. All right, sir.
And it'll be messy, but that's okay. That's part of the deal.
Indeed.
Part of the deal. It is. Okay.
Indeed.
Let's be done.
All right. Have a good one.
Please have a great week.
All right. You
My best,
too.
my best to you and Angie. See ya.
Likewise. Bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Mental Fitness Unscripted podcast. Now go take some action, because we know that information alone doesn't change you, but taking even the smallest action in the right direction does. Also, subscribe and comment so more people can find the podcast and be encouraged. If you're ready to take your mental fitness to the next level and you'd like more support, check out teamquadzilla.com for our resources that will help you accelerate your journey. Until next time, remember, healthy living starts between your ears.